The guys that kind of come out to me or stand out to me are guys you can plug in immediately, and those are the guys like the centers who can rebound and who can play good defense, like James Nanji. Is that how you pronounce it? Derek
Najee.
Lively and Trace Jackson, I believe is the other name. Just like big guys can rebound, athletic guys. You like they have the type of skill sets that aren't hard to just plug in into any NBA offense or just NBA scheme. Really, it's like, all right, you need a rebound, or you're just going to throw down alley oops. Just need some guy who can play behind Sabonis, maybe even be a third string guy, or maybe even be a second string guy. I mean, we don't really have that backup center figured out yet, with Landon Metu being free agents and Holmes still being a big question mark, a guy they're trying to move. So if you can find some guy in the draft, play good defense down low, and just convert near the rim at a decent percentage as a rookie, some guy you can plug in pretty decently. I mean, I think that would be a good option. Some guy you're not really relying on to shoot at a high clip, which I mean would be great, but sometimes those guys are question marks, and their shots not falling, then they kind of just play themselves out of the rotation. Almost like a better Willie Cauley-Stein, hopefully. But even like a Willie Cauley-Stein in his prime was decent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So those are the guys that are standing out to me at the moment. This easy plug and play guys from the get go who can adjust to the game fairly well for what they can offer.
Yeah, I think Derek Lively, I think on the topic of guys that probably might not fall to 24, might as well throw him in there too, because he just keeps rising up these lists because he shot really well on his pro day. And from what I understand at his time at Duke is that he couldn't shoot, to save anybody's life. And so that's kind of an interesting thing where it's just like, dang it. I guess he shot a lot in AAU ball in high school, but he didn't do it a lot in college. And so I guess that's kind of raising his stock and kind of putting him out of reach at this point. But he would be obviously perfect because he would be a guy that could fit into the rotation and back up Sabonis. But man, you can only hope that he falls, because I think I saw on a recent Bleacher Report mock draft, I think they had him going at like 12. So
No, just like
yeah, he's like shooting up these lists. So
okay.
Yeah, 12 going to OKC. Yeah, and OKC would do that, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think obviously outside of Wembanyama, he's the best center in the draft. And man. But hey, there's a lot of good players in this draft. Guys might see something other people. There's a chance good players could fall back. Would be really great if like Grady Dick fell.
You love that man.
Hey man, he can shoot and he's got a hell of a name.
Hell of a name.
Grady Dick. Wow, he did it again.
Isn't there a guy coming into the draft and his last name's Ho You Fat?
I don't know. I don't think I know that guy.
His name is Steve Ho You Fat, French professional basketball player who plays for the Metropolitans 92.
Those Mets.
Yeah. He's
Well,
34 years old.
Wow. That's crazy.
But that is his last name.
Mo You Fat? Or
like literally how you think it would be spelled.
All right.
HOYOUFAT, all different words.
But I mean, in terms of the other guys that you mentioned, James Najee, I think he's interesting because he shows up sometimes as kind of a late first round pick, and sometimes an early to mid second round pick on some mock drafts. The one problem with him is he's 18. He's really young, and I feel like it's dubious if he would be able to make an impact in his first or even second season. And I don't think he came to basketball super early in life. So, but in terms of being a prospect, I really like him because he's got all the athleticism in the world. He can rebound. He'll be able to defend and maybe even have switchability. So he's a guy that, hey man, you sign a backup center, and then you kind of just say like, maybe get a little real about Neemias Queta and go ahead and really develop this guy into the center that everybody thinks he can be. And you always got to be careful about like what you get out of those guys, what you expect out of those guys, though, because it's not like he would be turning into an all-star or anything like that. He would be turning into like maybe like a little bit of a better Bismack Biyombo,
Mm-hmm.
So that's also the interesting thing is it's just like, oh man, is it like this guy's ceiling or is it like, but this guy's got such a sure floor, what
Yeah.
are you going for? But I think both Lively and Najee in different ways, both have a high floor because I think Najee's athleticism is just so real. And then Lively does a lot of things that he, like I said, he could be a rotational guy year one. But they also have high ceilings. So they're very interesting. And I think that's why they'll probably both be first round picks. I could eat my words on that because watch James Najee like fall to 60. At pick number 60. Or they didn't even have 60 because like 2 picks are forfeited. So it's only 58 picks, I think.
Oh, yeah. Who forfeited their picks?
Like Chicago and somebody, I could get it in a second.
Yeah.
Chicago and Philadelphia.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
But yeah. And then did you say another center?
Trace Jackson.
Yeah, Trace Jackson Davis is another guy that kind of, again, I don't know if he's going to be. Some people have the Kings picking him, and some people kind of have him like in and around there, and some people have him as kind of like an early second round pick. So, and I like Trace Jackson Davis. I think he was like a 4-year player at Indiana. The one thing is you look at some other kind of players. I don't think he's a center, but Noah Clowney is a guy that gets compared a lot to, not compared, but he's kind of in the same kind of realm in terms of mock drafts and whatnot, and positionally kind of similar. Because Clowney could develop into kind of a 5 in the modern NBA. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's only like 19 coming out of Alabama as a freshman, but he's on track. I guess the reason I'm bringing him up is he didn't shoot threes at Alabama super well, but he's got that upside. He's got the mechanics, like things can come along. I don't know off the top of my head what his free throw percentage was, but he might be one of those guys that shot a good free throw percentage, and that's always a good tell in terms of shooting touch. And Trace Jackson Davis does not have that. He's got a really bad, wonky shot. He's never really hit it at a convincing rate. But you're talking about a guy that could be defensively versatile. He's pretty athletic. He's a very good high character guy if you're talking about that, which is probably, I don't know if that's why people are connecting him to the Kings, but that wouldn't be a bad reason why. I think he was a really good leader. Mike Woodson coaches Indiana, and I think he had only good things to say about him. So that's a former NBA coach that is speaking highly of this guy. Obviously, I mean, it's his guy. But, I think he would be really good. And I even think he could maybe fill in as a backup 5, although you definitely want him competing with somebody. And yeah, I mean, it depends where he's at in the draft. Some places have made it seem like he would be available at 38, and obviously that would be a steal. But yeah, I feel like if you are going to get him, you'd have to take him at 24, and it'd just be interesting to see what the pool of available players is at that point. But I feel like a lot of people are iffy about Trace Jackson Davis, TJD, as some people call him. So we might as well get familiar with him. But I feel like from what I've read, I mean, like you kind of know what you're getting out of him. So I kind of like those players in the draft. They're not always the best player available, though. That's the one thing. So
That's true.
that would be interesting.